So NASA's Perseverance rover finds diverse organic matter on Mars. Scanning habitable environments with Raman and luminescence for organics and chemicals, Sherlock uh, instrument on the rover was used to detect organic molecules in Jezero crater. Sherlock, just a second. Sherlock operates day or night, uses ultraviolet laser light to search for organics and minerals. Sherlock uses Raman spectroscopy. It works by shining light on molecules and measuring the scattered light at different frequencies. It helps in determining which compounds exist in sample. Earlier, organic chemicals were discovered in meteorites sent from Mars in the Gale crater. Jezero crater is an ancient lake basin site which has potential for discovering evidence of past life in Mars. Significance of discovery: understanding the carbon cycle on Mars and potential life on Mars. Organic molecules are key blocks on life of Earth, made primarily for the carbon, hydrogen, and other elements like oxygen, nitrogen, phosphorus, and sulfur. So far, only Mars, Phoenix, Lander, and Curiosity rover have been able to detect organic carbon using methods like evolved gas analysis and gas chromatography, mass spectrometry. Other Mars missions, Mangalyaan, Hope, Tianwen, Mars Express, Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter, Mars Odyssey, etc. United Nations Conference on Trade and Development releases report titled A World of Debt. Public debt is the total amount, including total liabilities, borrowed by government to meet its development budget. Key findings were: global public debt increased by more than fivefold since 2000. Debt increases faster in developing countries compared to the developed countries over the last decade. Almost 30% of the global public debt is owned by developing countries. India's public debt is 2,815 USD billion dollars. Half of the developing countries devote more than 1.5% of its GDP and 6.9% of its government revenues for interest payments than on education or health. Developing countries rely more on the private creditors now, making credit more expensive and debt restructuring more complex. Factors behind rise in public debt क्या है? तो factor is cascading: crisis on development due to COVID-19 pandemic, cost of living crisis, and climate change, etc. Unequal international financial architecture makes developing countries access to financial inadequate and expensive, leading to slow economic growth. Roadmap to address global debt burden: tackling the high cost of debt and rising risk of debt distress, provide greater liquidity in times of crisis, expanding contingency finance, make the system more inclusive. UNCTAD is a permanent intergovernmental body established by the UN General Assembly in 1964. Members are 195 member states, including India, and it is a part of UN Sustainable Development Group. Other reports released are Trade and Development Report, Digital Economy Report, Technology and Innovation Report, etc. It is headquartered in Geneva. 25 years of India Finance Strategic Partnership. 25 years of France Strategic Partnership. Key highlights were: defense and security cooperation, acquisition of 26 Rafale marine fighter jets, 3 Scorpion submarines under Project 75 approved by the Ministry of Defense. Both sides conducted regular defense exercises example, the exercise Shakti by Army, Varun by Navy, and Garud by Air Force. International cooperation. France supports India's claim for permanent membership of the United Nations Security Council and UN reforms, helped India's accession to the Missile Technology Control Regime, Wassenaar Agreement, and Australian Group. Diaspora. Overseas citizen of India cards are now being issued in Reunion Islands located in Indian Ocean east of Madagascar. Energy is International Solar Alliance is a joint initiative of both the countries launched during COP21 to promote solar energy. Space. Both sides issued joint vision for space cooperation in 2018. Civil nuclear cooperation. Both signed a new civil nuclear agreement in 2008. Also, France is cooperating in training project for India's Gaganyaan human space flight program. Geostrategic. Both are committed to ensuring a free and rule-based Indo-Pacific region. Atal Vayo Abhyuday Yojana, which is Avyay, empowering the elderly for a dignified life. Mission of Social Justice and Empowerment had launched umbrella scheme Avyay, formerly known as National Action Plan for Senior Citizens in 2021. Create a society where the senior citizens live a healthy, dignified, and self reliant life, along with a strong social and intergenerational bonding. Aware components are integrated program for senior citizens, provides financial assistance to eligible organizations for running and maintenance of senior citizen homes, continuous care homes to improve the quality of life of senior citizens. Nearly 1.5 lakh beneficiaries are staying in the senior citizen homes. Rashtriya Vayashri Yojana provides aids and assistive living devices to senior citizens belonging to BPL category or more or those seniors who earn less than rupees 15,000 per month. Other components, livelihood and skilling initiatives for the senior citizens by providing them opportunities to enhance their earnings and sense of self-respect. It has two programs, Sacred Portal and Action Group of aimed at social reconstruction. Sacred Portal and action groups aimed at social reconstruction channelize CSR fund in an appropriate manner for elderly care projects, National Helpline for Senior Citizens to address grievances for elders. India's Unified Payments interface, which is UPI, to be used in the France soon. India and France has agreed to use UPI mechanism, making expansion of UPI's international reach. This will allow Indian tourists to make rupee payments using UPI France while in France. UPI is a real-time payment system launched in 2016 by the National Payment Corporation of India. It links multiple bank accounts into a single mobile application. NPCI is an initiative of RBI and Indian Banks Association under the Payment and Settlement Act 2007. It is umbrella organization for operating retail payments and settlement systems in India. Significance of the international use of UPI enables faster and cheaper remittance services, use virtual ID for transaction, making it more secure as bank accounts details are not shared, direct transfer funds to beneficiary bypassing intermediaries. Steps taken for promoting international use of UPI. NPCI has allowed NRIs in 10 countries including Singapore, Australia, Canada, Oman, Qatar, etc. to use UPI platform from their international mobile numbers. RBI announced extension of UPI to allow visitors from the G20 countries to use it to make a merchant payment while they are in India. Over half of the world's child trafficking victims trafficked within own country. Over half of the world's child trafficking victims trafficked within own country. A report titled Evidence to Action 20 Years of IOM Trafficking Data to Inform Policy and Programming was prepared by International Organization for Migration. It aims to provide a comprehensive understanding of child trafficking on a global scale. Key highlights are no age range is immune to a child trafficking. Child victims ranged from 0 to 17 years old. Child aged 13 to 17 form the largest groups of child victims. 43.4% and 20.8% of the child victims were trafficked for forced labor and sexual exploitation, respectively. Some children are more vulnerable than the other based on the different risk factors such as individual factors, gender or race, etc. Households and family factors, dysfunctional family environment, etc. Community factor, low socioeconomic status, etc. Structural factors which is corruption, etc. Child trafficking manifests in form of domestic labor, forced child labor across industries, and illegal activities such as begging or organ trade and commercial sex purposes. Recommendations were integrating counter trafficking into climate change, environmental and disaster risk reduction policies and programs, empowering communities to develop community based mitigation strategies aimed at reducing human trafficking. International Organization for Migration, it is headquartered in Switzerland, was established in 1951. It is a leading intergovernmental organization in the field of migration, guided by the principles enshrined in the United Nations Charter, including upholding human rights for all. It has 175 members, including India. International Organization for Migration. Right to silence. Supreme Court said that all accused have a right to silence. Investigators cannot force them to speak or admit guilt. Right to silence emanates from Article 20.3, which states that no one can be compelled to be a witness against himself. Protection limited only to criminal proceedings. Right is not available to a person who is being interrogated under Customs Act 1962 or Foreign Exchange Management Act 1999, since person is not accused of an offense and isn't entitled to a lawyer. In Nandini Satpathy versus PL Dani case, Supreme Court stated that compelling a person to answer a question within limits of the police station may result in violation of Article 23. Government has renewed National Asset Reconstruction Company Limited. Government has renewed its federal guarantee to NARCL, making it easier for entity to acquire bad loans from lenders. NARCL has been incorporated under the Companies Act and registered with RBI as an asset reconstruction company under the Securitization and Reconstruction of Financial Assets and Enforcement of Security Interest 2022 2002. NARCL has been set up by banks to aggregate and consolidate stressed assets for their subsequent resolution. Public sector banks maintains 51% ownership in NARCL. Karst Plateau. A new study of sediments from the seasonal lake in Karst Plateau has indicated a major shift in the Indian summer monsoons. Karst Plateau, or Pathar, also known as the Valley of Flowers, is located in the Satara district of Maharashtra. It falls in the biosphere of Western Ghats. Its name is derived from the Kasa tree, botanically known as Eleucarpus glandulosus or Rudraksh family. It is made of igneous rocks. This plateau is inscribed in the UNESCO World Natural Heritage Sites list under the name of Western Ghats. Operation Southern Readiness 2023. Annual multinational exercise Operation Southern Readiness, which is between India, USA, Italy, UK, and Seychelles, conducted by Combined Maritime Forces. Siachen Glacier. First geological survey of India expedition to the Siachen Glacier was done in 1958. Siachen Glacier is located in the eastern Karakoram ranges in Himalayas. It is the second longest non-polar glacier in the world after after Fedchenko Glacier in Tajikistan. Nubra Valley acts as the gateway to the strategic imports Siachen Glacier and Karakoram Pass. Siachen Glacier is the world's highest battlefield. Moderate resolution imaging spectroradiometer. Tropical waters have turned green in color due to climate change. Observation is based on the analysis of the data generated from the MODIS Abroad Aqua satellite. MODIS is Moderate Resolution Imaging Spectroradiometer. It is an instrument that collects sensed data, collects remotely sensed MODIS is an instrument that collects remotely sensed data used by scientists for monitoring, modeling, and assessing the effects of natural processes and human actions on the Earth's surface. Carried on two NASA Earth observing system satellite, MODIS acquires monitoring EOS Terra and afternoon aqua views almost daily. MODIS takes measurements in seven visible wavelengths. Ambergris floating gold. Ambergris is a waxy material secreted by sperm whales when they swallow indigestible material such as squid beaks. It is used for making perfumes, record of being used to flavor food, alcoholic beverages, and tobacco in the past. Protection provided to this is ban on the possession and trade of ambergris in the countries like USA, Australia, and India. Sperm whales are protected species, and under the Schedule 2 of the Wildlife Protection Act, uh, possession of trade of any of its byproducts, included ambergris and its byproducts, is illegal under the provisions of WPA, Wildlife Protection Act 1972. Duchenne's muscular dystrophy DMD. Researchers from India and Japan have developed a disease modifying treatment for DMD. DMS is a rare genetic disease characterized by progressive muscle degeneration and weakness due to alterations of a protein called dystrophin. Progressive muscle degeneration and weakness due to alterations of a protein called dystrophin. Muscle weakness is the principal symptom of DMD. It can begin as early as 2 or 3, primarily affects boys, but in rare cases it can affect girls, are carriers of this genetic trait. Women are usually carriers of this genetic trait. Stop TB partnership. Johnson & Johnson has granted Stop TB Partnerships global drug facilities license to procure and supply generic versions of TB drug bedaquiline for low and middle income countries. Stop TB Partnership, founded in 2001, is a UN hosted organization to serve the needs and amplify the voices of people, communities, and countries affected by TB. It brings together expertise from a broad spectrum of country, the regional and global partners in shared mission to end TB by 2030.